Hello students. So today we'll continue lesson 7 cyber ethics. Today we'll study about the open source philosophy. Now this open source philosophy promotes the free access and distribution of an end product, means like a software or program. So if you want to make any software or program that can be accessed in free by anyone, so that is called the open source. So it may extend to the implementation and design of the other products. So in the open source, the purpose to make it free to access by anyone to make the development and the design of their software. The term open source picked up footing with the growth of the internet because the need to create the technology may be customized according to the user's requirements and to the end user dependence on expensive software. So the concept of for that open source is that to make the person independent on the expensive software. So many of like the Microsoft operating system is not a free of cost. It takes the charges. Many software of the Microsoft Office are paid only, not free. So like the Linux operating system, which is free. So if the open source concept is introduced only so that anyone can use it freely and anyone can access it without paying any charges. So the to minimize the dependence of the users on the paid software, this concept is introduced. So this software generally gives us users the freedom to run the software for any purpose, to use it and to modify the software and to redistribute the copies of the original and modified versions to the others. So these permissions are enforced through an open source license. So every open source software contains the open source license, and this license gives the permission, gives the flexibility to share it, to distribute it, the copies of the original software to anyone. Which and this permission does not lies in the closed software, that is the paid software. Now the types of software in terms of the accessibility. So a closed source software. This software is exclusively controlled and modified by its original creators. That is the person, team, or organization who may be creating the software is called the proprietary of that software is called the closed source software. So in a closed source software means this source code can be accessed only by the authors. So means the company only can access the source code. So the third party other person cannot access the source code of the closed source software. Now see the free software. The software whose terms of distribution allows users to study the change and distribute it is called the free software. This type of software is permitted to be used for any purpose, and the redistribution of its version must also be distributed with the original terms of free use, modification, and distribution known as copyleft. So the free software are free in the sense of freedom, not in zero price. So in the free software, maybe the company can charge you a nominal fees, but there is no restrictions on distributing the software to anyone. So you can use it for the development also, or any field you can use that software for the business purpose, for the business purpose, wherever you want. There is no restrictions on that, but in the closed source these flexibilities or these uh, are not given. So now the open source. So the term open source in general means refers to something that is publicly accessible. So the source code of that software can be accessed by anyone and therefore can be modified and shared by anyone also. So you can modify into the source codes also, or you can make the development in the software. Open source refers to a computer software whose source code is available to the public and may be modified, improvised, that you can make the changes or debug. You can find the error also. The original developers of the software may or may not be charged a nominal fees. They can charge also for the support and for the development of the software. So difference between the open source and free software. So what are the differences between this? The main difference between the open source and free software is that of the philosophy and purpose. So the concept, the open source is a free software which can be redistributed, which can be shared to anyone's its original copy. And the free software means it is uh, prepared by keeping in mind that it can be accessed by all. So open source is a development methodology where the focus is on the improvising the software, means making the development in the software, making some changes in the software by opening its source code for a meaningful contribution from the coding community. But in the free software, this it is used for a social movement where the focus on the user's freedom, that everyone can get the access of this software. So this freedom includes the freedom to run the program for any purpose. You can use that software for a study purpose, also you can use it, and for a business purpose, for a particular personal purpose also you can use it. So the you can distribute the copies of the modified versions also to your or friends or some other persons. Now the open source model. So this open source model, now see here the list of the closed source of software and the open source. In the closed source software you can see the Photoshop, McAfee, Microsoft Office, Windows Phone, iOS operating systems. Now see the Windows 10 operating system, all these are closed source, not free. Apple, and you can see here in the open source Ubuntu operating system, Symbian operating system, Android operating system, Mozilla Firefox, Migo, and here is the Python, you can see the Penguin. So all these are the free software, open source software. Linux. Now this all for the today's students. So in the next class, we'll study about the open source model. So this is all for today. Thank you for your kind attention.